Just got these in the mail on the way home from the gym. I almost forgot to check the mail. Today is a pretty historic day, at least in this part of the house, in as much as my books, the ones that I published, are I am finally legitimate, folks. I'm legitimate. How many people can say that they have their own book? Apart from, Stephen King and, 12 other people, can say, in no uncertain terms, that their book just came out in paperback. It's not a fiction, it's not a novel. I'm not into narrative fiction. It's my brain, as George Carlin once called it, these are my brain droppings. He didn't call me brain droppings. He didn't call the stuff in my brain droppings. He was referring to his own brain droppings, his own probably much more clever observations that he put in book form. But apart from George Carlin, Stephen King, and some dude named Edgar Allan Poe, and 5 or 6 other people, they can't. And all these people except Stephen King are dead now. So basically, it's me and Stephen King published. So I'm going to open this up and pretend to read it for you. Here it is. This is exciting. Here's the crazy conspiracy nut job book. So, I could read the book to you, but I like the way this looks, though. Look at this. This is the first time I've seen this. The font's nice. The spacing is nice. We've got page numbers. I'll put the glasses on to look more, bookwormy. But here it is. Here's me reading my book. This is it smells. Look at it. It's like my book. These are the words that I wrote. I recognize them. We got the introduction, Call Me Crazy. We got the foreword, Fear Itself. Chapter 1, Confessions of... by the way, I'm also expecting typos to start appearing. Because everyone knows that when you publish your book, all of the typos that previously went unnoticed are suddenly start jumping out. But so far, in the table of contents, Silver Linings, Chapter 1, Confessions of an Old White Guy. That would be me. And then we have The Dinner Bell. And then we have Chapter 3, Acting Lessons. Chapter 4, Straight Ticket. More Human Than a Human. Thank you, Rob Zombie. Looking Up. Distracted While Driving. Funny how every time there's a car crash anymore on the news, 25 people get killed when a train derails. Nobody ever says it's because it's due to texting. We're investigating the accident. Yeah, the first thing they found is a guy's device in his carcass's hand. So anyway, I'm a bitter old cynic, and it certainly shows in this book. The Sundogs. Taking the Plunge. Tinfoil hats. Yeah. I'm in all of your eyes. I'm a tinfoil hat wearing, batshit crazy, old fucking white guy. Especially if you read this book. I'm here to prove it. This book proves it. But it hopefully also gives you some points of view that you're not going to hear in the mainstream media. Chapter 11, The Fat Poor. Think about it. The Fat Poor. Only in America and other westernized countries. Chapter 12, The Here and Now. My attempt to show you what's really happening in the here and now, which is the exact same thing that's happened since the people who create history started creating history. It's the same story. Different tune. Chapter 13, Spoiler Alert. Yes, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to ruin the plot that these people have created and tell you the plot. I'm going to divulge all of the plot secrets. Chapter 14, Battle Scarred. It isn't easy divulging any semblance of truth without getting battle scarred. And I'm almost 60. I've got plenty of battle scars to show you. Chapter 15, Break Your Mother's Back. It's about superstition and how we actually believe inane things that we're told by someone we trust. If you step on a crack, you're going to break your mother's back. So when I'm a kid, I'm desperately trying to avoid every crack. They're programming you to behave a certain way based on an unfounded fear. Okay. The bees sting. People don't understand that bees don't just go up with an intent to sting you. They avoid stinging you because if they do sting you, they leave their stinger in you, and when they attempt an escape, when you try to swat them, they pull, oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes they pull out their own stinger and end up bleeding to death. So it's very against the interest of the bee's survival to sting you. It's usually a last resort. So don't be afraid of the bee's sting. Sympathize with the bee. And it's my somewhat successful, probably more quasi-successful attempt to explain to you why the bees are disappearing. They're not disappearing because they're dying. They're disappearing because they're moving up, they're pulling up stakes, they're going to where it's still warm. The climate is changing, it is warming. Anyway, that's what this whole book's about, is my observations doing documentaries for 10 years, studying these so-called chemtrails, and really wanting to know what's at the bottom of it. Is it really happening? Is it not really happening? Look at my documentaries. I think you'll be able to come to the rapid conclusion that I believe it's really happening, but not for the reasons the chemtrail nuts are saying that it's happening. Anyway, it's all. Let me finish up here. We've got chapter 17, Mediocrity So Sweet, which is my summing up of our society, how mediocrity has become all the rage. There's no such thing anymore as actual discussion, actual debate. It's mundane, it's mediocrity, it's rooted in a specific narrative. And if you deviate one iota toward the center of the rights and the lefts, then you're handed your hat and you're asked, you're no longer welcome at that table. So mediocrity so sweet. And it's also about how the food is being sweetened and everything has high fructose corn syrup in it, for example. This is about conspiracies, not conspiracy theories, actual conspiracies, because conspiracy is really a thing. It's something that actually happens. There's laws against conspiracy. Theories are a thing, very vital to a thing called science, for example. Put the two words together, conspiracy and theory, and they cancel each other out. They're designed to do that. So yeah, this is about actual conspiracies that are actually happening. I'm not a Trump guy. I am crazy, but I'm taking medication for it, and I'm trying to be a nice guy, and I'm trying to help. I don't know why, because people seem to be content with being mediocre. And finally, I wrap things up in chapter 18 with the title track. Silver linings. I'm going to start at random. Everywhere you care to look, people are keeping their heads down. In the rare moment of actual interaction, which seems almost accidental these days, people are too quick to spook when their eyes lock for too uncomfortable a length of time on another pair of eyes. If there are a few of us who are still daring enough to try and initiate contact, offense is taken, and we quickly escape back into our cocoon of safety and relative isolation. Yet, in spite of how it's all been lobbied off and disinfected for our protection, the world, at least according to our news feeds, has gotten much more dangerous. There's a predator around every corner, and danger looms at every turn. It's amazing how much more pleasant the world can look if you just look at it with your own eyes and see for yourself how safe, in many ways, the world actually is. And I go into explaining for a brief moment of time to explain how there are some positive things still to be seen in the world. Just nobody's talking about them. And then we have our second book. Two published books. Yeah, I'm insane.